Welcome to the School of Wordcraft and Worldmancy. This is Feedback Frenzy.
All right, welcome to Submit Saturday. Thank you so much for being here. And this next article is submitted by Rugrat1. So thank you so much, Rugrat, for being here and submitting your article for review. This article is entitled Illithor Orchid. Illithor. Thank you, sweetheart. Take the dog.
Coda?
No, bye, Coda. Thank you. I love you too, Coda. All right, species. Illithor Orchid. Okay. I should zoom out, reset, so I can get a better appreciation for the size of the article. All right, nice. Okay. All right. Okay. Ooh, bug. Okay. All right, comments. Okay. So we got a standard layout here with just the main column, side column, where we have some average height. Okay, there's a bug. I don't know why. Close-up photo of bee photo by Arab. That's unpronounceable. Okay, there we go. I'm glad that you... Okay, so let's talk about this. Really cool header. Glad it's small. I can see that. But this is really hard to read. Especially when you have an I-L-L-I, a capital I, two lowercase L's, and a lowercase I. It does make it a little hard to read. I'm glad that you have the pronunciation and you're using that feature in World Anvil. I think that's really helpful. And the fact that you're using the breadcrumbs. I'm a personal fan of the breadcrumbs because any link is an invitation to dig deeper by your reader. Credit to Nancy Nummy for the original idea. Very generous. If Nancy had a world or a profile page or something, that would be very nice to link to that. Okay, so we have beautiful photo. Yellow flower with macro lands photo by girl with red hat. She does not. I just started recently. Okay. Oh, Kadeth, the Kadeth CSS and all Kadeth headers are creations of Night Flyer 1, Rugrat1. Kadeth is unofficial fan content permitted under the fan content policy, not approved or endorsed by Wizards. Portions of this material used by the Wizard of the Coast. World and country maps are made by Wonderdraft. City maps made by Wabatu. Building and dungeon maps made by Dungeon Draft. Oh, that's a nice little disclaimer. So you made this CSS. That's cool. All right, beautiful drop-down letter. It does match the accent color of the navy blue. That's not. Is that navy? Or is that? Yeah. No, we'll just stick with the 200. It's simple, but it works. Oh, hey, simple can also mean elegant. The Illithor Orchid was always incredibly scarce and hard to locate, even before the overharvesting of its pollen drove it to extinction. An epiphytic or sky-dwelling plant, this yellow spotted flower lived not on the ground, but rather it settled high in the canopy of the Naruthian jungle. The plant could survive solely on rainwater and the debris that would settle in nooks and hollows of allosaurine trees. Tooltips are wonderful. I don't know that word. Okay. Good first paragraph, but I'm a little bit confused. on it, this first sentence. This is a heck of a sentence. The Illithor orchid was always incredibly scarce and hard to locate even before overharvesting of its pollen drove it to extinction. Okay, you do have a couple of ideas that are in this one sentence. My philosophy: one idea per sentence, one concept per paragraph. So you have it that it's scarce and hard to locate, and that it's harvested, and that overharvesting led it to extinction. So there's three ideas that you have in that one sentence. And so I would recommend splitting that out so that you can focus on what's most important. What's the most important thing about this flower? Its rarity, or the fact that it was overharvested, it's in the overharvested, or it's being led to extinction. You may be able to, combine those in different ways. The Illithor orchid is a scarce and rare flower. The Illithor orchid is a scarce or a scarce flower, because scarce and hard to locate is the same thing. I don't know if you need to say scarce and hard to locate, because things that are scarce are hard to locate, and things that are hard to locate are scarce. I guess I'm just bringing up that it doesn't need to be double explained, is where I'm coming from. Then you're saying, you could say the Illithor orchid is a beautiful flower that is hard to locate. Period. Its scarcity is due to overharvesting. Harvesting. Period. Its pollen, the desire for its pollen, led the plant to almost become extinct. Okay, so that it kind of broke that up. Instead of saying A, B, C, D in a sentence, you go A to B, new sentence, B to A, B to C, new sentence, C to D, new sentence, D to E. Okay, so you're able to expand it out. It does expand the word count a little bit, but I think we'll be fine if we spend some more time words here for clarity's sake. And then we can get the epiphytic, or like an epiphytic plant. This yellow spotted flower, I don't know if you need that comma there. It's scarce as nature created and hard to locate because it's up in the canopy. Those are really good distinctions that I think you should include in this paragraph. Its scarcity is because that's just how nature created it, and it's hard to locate because I like that. I like that distinction that you have there. So I would almost
Sprinters break, marchers continue.
I would break this into two paragraphs. One paragraph to describe the scarcity of the flower, and a second paragraph to describe the hard to locate nature of it. Okay, so you're not overly combining. So a concept, it's scarce. Another concept, it's hard to find. It's hard to locate. Okay, I like the distinction that you made there between scarcity and difficult to locate. And then the fact that you have here, the plant could survive solely on rainwater and the debris that would settle in the nooks and hollows of these trees. I would tooltip that if possible, or if you have another article. If you don't, just leave it as is. Okay. But you may want to save this concept of that it could survive on rainwater over to something genetics and reproduction or anatomy. That may be something that you could move later on. The flower was originally held sacred by the Songado elves, very good tooltip there. Elves of the jungle. The pollen of the flower was used to create a potent drug, metzal. When mixed with the Sogdian drink tassar. It was only used in specific dream trance rituals by the tribe shamans. Their apprentices would climb high into the canopy to search for the flowers and harvest their dual pollen pods. Only the most experienced of shamans, however, were able to use the drug with a fair amount of safety within the framework of the rituals. Wow, you got a lot of cool stuff here, packed in here. Okay, you have where it was discovered and who it was discovered by. Then you're talking about this drink. Okay, there's another concept, this drink that is used to induce hallucinations amongst tribal shamans. Okay, and then you talk about only shamans are able to use this drug with safety if they follow the religious framework. Okay, again, a lot of juicy information that you've put in here that could be expanded upon if you so desire. But you may need to split that. You may need to want to split that up. Yeah, more pronunciations via tooltips is wonderful. The fact that this is a separate article, also wonderful. Okay. The Omakaran Empire encroached closer upon the jungle and the lands of the Songado. Items of foreign make began to infiltrate the Sogdian culture. Items of foreign make began to infiltrate the Sogdian culture. Okay. Realizing that Illithor pollen could be traded at premium for other goods, some tribes people began harvesting it themselves and taking it to the nearest trading post, Naexi. There was a strong market for metzal among religious sects and nobles looking for entertainment. Okay. Again, now we have a tribal people, we have encroachers. All right. So that is really good information. May want to have a history section or something about that. I don't know, because this is just a lot of good information that may make this article more scannable. Ooh, scannability. That's a good point. Can you scan this article for quick information? It's hard to go through this first section here, these first couple of paragraphs, to be able to find information quickly. But as quickly as you could
Sprinters
find
begin
information
now.
about the anatomy,
Marchers
genetics,
keep going.
reproductions, stuff like that. Okay. Well, it's not that packing things tightly can be a good thing, but it's also what do you want the person who's reading to be able to do? To find, are they reading for enjoyment or are they reading for rapid consumption of information? Your choice. But I would love to have like a history section where you start talking about how the world found out about this, because I'm guessing that this was the secret only the shamans and their apprentices really knew about it. That its location, it was probably hard to find because they didn't want to tell anyone about it, because they didn't want it to be over harvested. And the Macarena. Sorry. The Omakaran Empire, you know, Omasaran. Okay, Omasaran. There's an apostrophe there. Omasaran. Personally, when I do phonetic pronunciation, the syllable that has the emphasis is in all caps, and all of the other syllables are all lowercased. So like oh, ma, sir would all be lowercase, and on would be capital AHN, if that's where the emphasis is. Because amongst English speakers, emphasis is usually placed on the second syllable unless specified otherwise. Emphasis instead of emphasis. Putting your emphasis on the wrong syllables could make it a little bit confusing. Okay. Again, that's a nitpicky thing, but will help, a pronunciation guide could be kind of cool, especially for conlags. Then if that's the sir, then I'd make the Omasuran. Omasuran? Omasuran? Because it could be Omasuran, Omasuran, Omasiran, or Omarsuran. Suran. So, yeah. Noble's looking for entertainment. It's Ma. Omasuran. Okay, then I would put OH lowercase, MAH uppercase, then everything else lowercase. That's not like official things, but that's how I do it. Soon, this was a common practice until even the tribal shamans had trouble getting a hold of the pollen. Without pollen pods, the orchids could not reproduce. Good information. And they quickly became an endangered species. Within a decade of the Metzel trade establishing itself in Naexi, there were no orchids to be found anywhere in range. Today, the beautiful Illithor orchid is considered to be completely extinct. Any plants that escaped the overharvesting would have been destroyed as the jungle was cleared from various countries so the land could be used as farmland and pastures. The small remnants of the jungle are not big enough to support the delicate flower. Your font makes it all uppercase. So, the flower is extinct. It's gone. It's, okay. Anywhere in range or in this range. Okay, but I'm getting the feeling that it's gone. This is an extinct species. One of the largest orchid species, the Illithor produced up to 3 flowers at a time. Each flower had a bucket-like section where pollinization took place. Pollen was not scattered, but contained within 2 distinct pods. These pollen pods needed to adhere to another orchid's stamen for reproduction to take place. The Illithor orchid depends largely on a complicated trap and release mechanism for the specifically evolved Illithon bees to ensure 2 pollen pods reached another orchid. It is a reservoir of liquid that was attractive to males and is shaped so that they fell into it. The only way out was through the pollen pods, based on real plant and bee. Excellent. Poor writers copy. Excellent writers steal. I don't know why I said that. But the fact that you're using a real plant and a real bee for inspiration, I think is a wonderful thing. You just filed off the names and you added enough of its own unique history. Yeah, this is great. A great remix. I didn't even think it was a remix until you told me that. So, yeah, liking this stuff. The plant would then hold the bee long enough for the pod to adhere to its back, then release the bee to move on to another orchid. Here, the process was repeated, except the next orchid would remove the pollen pod onto the stamen to fertilize itself. Okay, because when I think of pollens, I mean, to me, this pollen pod sounds like a here. Put a chicken nugget on the back of the bee. But if this is because yeah, bees aren't that big. If this is based on a real plant and a real bee, that would be awesome if you could have a picture of the bee that has a pod on its back. Because when I think of pollen on bees, I just think it's like powder that's on its legs. The fact that it's a pod makes it interesting. That would be cool, yes. I thought about that, Greg. Yeah. Fuzz on legs. Oh, so it is the fuzz on legs? Okay, so this is just see the confusion that I have is an opportunity for you to be able to review it and see where you can remove the confusion through additional clarification. So if it is the pod, we need to understand the pod a little bit better. If it is the fuzz on we'll need to know that a little bit better. The fact that the plant holds the bee long enough and then releases the bee, and then the orchid removes the pollen pod, that sounds intelligent and intentional. I don't know how a plant would do that. But again, I picked it because of the pods so they could be harvested easily by people. Excellent choice. Make a strong choice and stick with it and justify it. But see, sentient, yeah, not sure on that part. Fair enough. It just seems intentional. I am not a botanist, so I do not understand how this could happen, but I'm sure since this is based on a real plant that a botanist said, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. Where to me, it does not. All right, additional information, uses, products, and exploration. Pollen clusters are harvested and used in making metza, a potent drug. Metzol. When mixed with alcohol, the pollen would produce a dreamlike trance state that was once solely experienced by Songado shamans, but later was considered a novelty and often an addictive experience for elves who are unable to dream. At least one religious sect, the Cyrillites, use the drug in their rites. Okay, good use of a tooltip here. I'm the fan of using tooltips everywhere a word is used. Like if you tooltip Metzel up here, Metzol up here above, I am a fan of using it everywhere because that would allow me, if I'm scanning the article, I go, oh, there's no tooltip. Whereas in
Sprinters
scanning
and
the article,
marchers,
oh, there
time
is
is
a
up.
tooltip. That's how I like it. In its heyday, the bulk of pollen collection and trading was in a large region centered on the trading town of Naexi, on the border of the Narthuian jungle. Sangado elves would trade it for luxury items like metal, fired ceramics, liquors, and blown glass. The traders sold it at a sizable markup to caravans heading to the main cities. The caravan merchants would then auction the pollen to the highest bidders. The income from these small pollen pods was what enabled Naexi to grow into a full-blown town and not just a trading post, and made many caravan merchants rich enough to buy noble titles. Okay. One interesting thing that I would like to know, how long was this? How long did it take from the encroachment of and the discovery of the pollen by the Omokaran, the Omosaran Empire, to its extinction? 50 years? 25 years? I mean, rich enough to make some nobles, some merchants become nobles. How long? Just a history, an idea of history would be cool to know the scope. All right, cool stuff. So if you're looking for stuff to add, I think there's great potential for a history section, pre Omocrian, post Moracrian, post that. Originally said within a decade, but I don't know if that's realistic. I don't know. Let me. How critical is this that it became extinct? Because this plant here is like the perfect hydroponic plant. It only needs rainwater. When it became obvious that things were beginning to that supplies were beginning to dwindle because it was so hard to find, did anyone try to either domesticate it or build greenhouses with beehives? They captured the bees, they made a beehive, they have a greenhouse, and so they have this mini ecosystem of plants and bees that kind of feed off of each other. If it is important to your world that this goes extinct, great. However, it is an opportunity for some future-sighted individual to collect the plants whole, to be able to corner the market, whatever you want to say, to be able to do something with it. I mean, there are meth houses. There are houses out there that people grow pot in the basement. Okay? My question is, are there any people growing these in their basement? Have they figured out how to take an orchid, go over to another orchid, shake it so that the pollen falls from one to another without the bees? Okay? Because that could really be interesting. You could maybe study a little bit about the opium wars and the opium trade from Afghanistan and China, Middle East. See what happened there, because opium, the opium flower, sounds very similar. Okay.
All right, everyone, it's time to get to work.
I think it would just be interesting to compare. If you wanted to expand this, if you wanted this to be a drug war or a narco type, open the path for a story about drug traffickers, about stuff like that. Did somebody who had enough foresight to save some of these plants create it? So, and then you could take this a step farther if you wanted, that it's secret. Nobody knows that. I mean, it's generally thought that this plant is extinct, except it isn't. a thieves guild, a drug guild, or something, they saved the plant, and it now, instead of only existing in the rainforest on the top of the trees, it only exists in greenhouses, illicit greenhouses. It just depends on where you want to take your story, your world. Do you want to have that creative element, that underground potential? And then people go, well, if it's extinct, why is there still this drug? Anyway, some ideas. If you have the time to expand out this article to that kind of stuff. So for the competition, for summer camp, I would really recommend that you just rework this top paragraph, break down the paragraphs to concepts, reorganize them, maybe put in a history header talking about when the tribal shamans only had it, when it got exploited by the nobles, stuff after that, just, you can play with that. All right. Well, only the Sangado elves are doing the harvesting, but some merchant might request the whole flower. If they were smart merchants, they would. Yeah, because if they requested the whole flower, and okay, so we're not ready to end yet. Let's follow this to the next step. If you want it to go extinct, if you want this plant to go extinct, the Sangado elves refuse to provide flowers for religious reasons. The flower is sacred, but the pods are not. A little hand pollination. Yeah. So if you want, so this is your choice for your world. If you want to make sure that this plant goes extinct so it can't be used, or it's an interesting element, the elves would then say, we will never give you a flower. We'll give you the pods. But if a merchant can find some elves who are willing to break that religious sacredness, then they can get the flower. That's your choice. Whether you want merchants who are willing to create greenhouses can get the flower or not. That's your choice. So thank you so much, Rugrat1. Really appreciate the opportunity to review this article and dig into this together. Thank you. It's likely these are elves that defy the taboo. There you go. That's your answer. And now you just need to follow it to its next logical conclusion. If you want. But I recommend it. All right, so thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And if you, too, would like to have your article or 1,500 words of fiction critiqued on a Submit Saturday, please follow the link wgc.bz/submit, and your article or fiction can also be critiqued on the next Submit Saturday. Thank you.
Thanks for watching this Feedback Frenzy. Be sure to show your support by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the notification bell. WriterGreg offers coaching sessions to help bring your world to life, create compelling stories, and accomplish your creative goals. Please visit wgc.bz/coaching for more details.